Welcome back to another podcast. This is not part of the off day podcast series, so this is a completely brand new podcast that we decided to do just last minute. And it's gonna be a late night one. Let's consider it a late night All Marlins pod. And we have some special guests here. We're joined by Kevin Barral and Sean. Welcome to the show. I mean, this is the first time we have Sean on our show. We've had Kevin here a couple times, so he's becoming a fan favorite here. But it's nice to have a new guy like Sean. How are
Hey,
you
happy to
guys
be
doing
here.
tonight? Perfect. All right, we got a couple things to talk about. I know it's such a sudden stream, but there's always so much to talk about this team. And number one, we're going to talk about that three games series between the Marlins and the Braves. I mean, the Marlins, I believe, won one of three in that series. The one win being as a result of Sandy Alcantara's master class. We'll get to him specifically later on in this show. But what do you guys think was the main issue in that series? Why couldn't they capitalize any further to any more wins? Let's start with Sean.
The first series couldn't get out of our own way. And Trevor Rogers seems to be cursed against the Braves, unfortunately. He's
Yep.
picked up I think that was his sixth loss. He was 0-6 going into this series. It got that nice no decision last night, but yeah, that went 0-5 going into it. And just still, the bat's not chipping in. On Eliezer, you're going to lose that one. On there, that's what they did was let Eliezer pitch. They lost that one, but the Sandy was able to save it at the end. It's what you're paying the ace the big bucks to do. You needed that stopper win. It was great to see him come through, get the complete game. If I'm not mistaken, none of the runs were even earned for a minute.
Yeah, they weren't.
The cleanest 4-3 win I've ever seen. But no, just the offense wasn't helping. It's the same story all year. And Eliezer just we need to get enough guys healthy so we could put them into pen.
Yeah, and you mentioned Eliezer, but this was actually his best start of the season. If you really want to go deep into that, 5 innings, 3 hits, 1 run, 1 walk, 5 Ks. That 1 run was the homer to one of the hottest hitters at the moment for the Braves, William Contreras. So it was an impressive start that I guess earned him another one. To be honest with you, I mean, then he goes into the pen for Tampa. I guess we could talk about that one later, but yeah, Miami it was a tough series for them to go up against the Braves. I think Rogers is now 0-5. I thought he got the loss on yesterday, Friday. So he's 0-5 against the Braves, had the no decision yesterday. So he just has no luck against Atlanta, it looks like. And honestly, I don't blame him. That lineup has Ronald Acuna, Matt Olson, Marcelo Zuna. So those are the guys that are highlighting that. And then you have Adam Duvall, former Marlin, Dansby Swanson. And you have Travis d'Arnaud, who for some reason always hits homers off the Marlins. And as I mentioned just a little bit back, William Contreras, one of the hottest hitters in baseball, or at least for the Braves. So that was just a tough series overall. I'm glad Sandy got the shutout. I was there covering that one, giving some luck to the team. But, Sandy's just dominant. And we'll get into that because he had one of probably the best start of the season just today when we're recording this. But this was a tough series. I mean, you saw a little bit of Eric Gonzalez. He's not on the team anymore. I guess we'll get into those moves later, but yeah, just a tough series for the Marlins. That was definitely one that they should have won. They could have taken 2 out of 3, especially in that 1-run loss. That was the Eliezer one. That middle game, that was another 1-run loss. I think that gives them the most one-run losses in the MLB, which is like 13 or 14, I think. Maybe even 20. I'm not sure.
14.
We are on pace to shatter the record for the franchise.
Oh, we are?
For 1-run losses. I think I looked it up. I think 1993 we might have lost about
1993, correct.
37, I think it was, and we're charging hard too.
This team will be historic in their own way. Then the 2022 Miami Marlins will be very historic. But yeah, tough series for Miami. The pitching wasn't the best. The bullpen was really good. That's
I was going to mention that.
Bass, Okert, I think Soler pitched that in.
Tanner Scott pitch. He allowed a couple runs in the game.
The one that really hurt was that Saturday game. Scott didn't pitch well. Floro,
I believe Floro was okay.
That was his best outing of the season, actually.
Yep.
In that 0.1 inning, 1 hit only. So gets out of that one with 11 pitches. Cody Poteet, which actually went on to pitch that Tampa game after he gave up a bomb. I think that was to William Contreras once again. And then Tommy Nance, who's been one of the best relievers for them, or at least has emerged, not been the best. And Bass has been the best one.
I'm not sure if many people saw my tweet. I had like a whole story of tweets that I posted earlier on my Twitter. I listed like it's like I guess you could consider it a Twitter article because I listed a bunch of them. I will post it on the screen once I edit this video, but man, Tommy Nance, as you mentioned, Kevin, Tommy Nance has been spectacular for this bullpen, especially filling in that hole that Anthony Bender kind of leaves behind because Anthony Bender has just not been Anthony Bender from 2021, and for obvious reasons. I mean, the sticky stuff. We spoke about this in the previous pod. There you go. But yeah, Tommy Nance. It's one of those under the radar moves that the Marlins have made many times, but the fact that he's worked out for us, he's been pretty good for us. So yeah, I just wanted to kind of highlight him out of the bunch because he kind of deserves it. Many people don't really talk about Tommy Nance the same way I spoke about Cody Poteet, and I tweeted about it a couple weeks ago. That one got a lot of likes and whatnot because many people were really starting to realize how good of a pitcher Cody Poteet was. Not as a starter though. We saw that in Tampa. We're gonna get to that one right now, as the Marlins dropped 2 in the Trop. That series was just crushing to us. I mean, maybe it held some sort of anchor to the Marlins 2022 season as far as wanting to stay, I guess, in the chase is the word to say. But the first game, I believe it was Pablo who pitched, or was it the second? Oh, it's the first. First. Wasn't really Pablo that game. I mean, I think he came back eventually. Like he had that rocky first, and then he kind of came back. The highlight of that series was Harold Ramirez. It just goes to show that you got to give your guys some more chances because I feel like Harold he was kind of thrown to the corner most of the time in his tenure here. But what do you guys think about that series?
I think that series went exactly how we all expected it to. The Marlins lose both games against Tampa. Shane McClanahan we just found out how good Shane McClanahan is. I mean, 10 Ks, shuts out the Marlins, and then the bullpen kind of ruins it towards the end. But just a tough game overall for Miami. I mean, that second game especially hurt a little bit. It was a 1-run loss. That Soler home run that then was ruled a foul ball. Stallings, I think he almost had a home run that game as well. I'm not sure, but that just proved how Miami's offense, gets it going, but got screwed over there in that case. But that's the one thing they couldn't capitalize, and that's the big issue. Runners in scoring position. Miami has not been able to capitalize, and not only this series against Tampa, but past ones. The Braves series. Just all of them. They're bad with runners in scoring position, and they've proven that. Lately in this Atlanta series, which we'll get into later, they've done pretty well with it. I mean, I think I mentioned that on the spaces that we did today. Cooper and Aggie got that going there on Friday and then today against the Braves. But yeah, I think it's just been runs capitalizing. Poteet, he was on, I guess you could say, short rest. He pitched that 1 inning against Atlanta on Saturday, that Saturday game, but didn't go too long, and just you don't know what you're going to get from a guy in Cody Poteet who never pitched against the Rays in his career. So, and you just saw how he got crushed.
Yeah, tough series. You felt bad for Pablo in game 1. That's the one that started with that inside the park home run that, to be honest, part of me is still trying to figure out how it wasn't an error. And I was like, right. I had to read the rule twice after the game. I know that it wasn't, but just did not approve of that Jesus Sanchez decision to dive for that ball. Just you see that thing rolling behind him, and this is going to be an inside the parker. I haven't seen that this season. So Pablo, what did he go? 7 innings still in that game? I think he had 8 or 9 strikeouts, right? But it did give up. Yeah,
he had
4 runs,
8 strikeouts.
Yeah,
and gave up 3 homers.
Yeah, if you take away Jesus Sanchez's blunder, it's still a quality start. But shave that off, and I was really excited to see McClanahan, and it's been one of the best pitching stories of the season. So that was, looking forward to seeing him. It's too bad that in terms of the earned runs, it couldn't be a great Pablo start, but it was good pitching all around. And then game 2, that just one exploding inning for Poteet, and 5 runs in the first was tough to come back from. That ended up being one of those traditional, this really stings Marlins 1-run losses in the end, but they fought so hard through that whole game to get back into it. Bullpen had a great game after from Poteet to get us in that position, and but that really hurt to see them not be able to get that last run across. And
do you think that because this has been really coming into my attention, because at the start of the season, many people have really liked to talk down on Jacob Stallings and how he's been since coming into the team, but lately Jacob Stallings has really put up some very nice at bats for this team. He's been put into those very crucial at bats where he has to capitalize. And then again, he wasn't really brought here to Miami to be that JT Realmuto type replacement.
No, not at all.
But he's been in the clutch.
It's I think I treated this out as people were again either surprised that he got a hit or talking down on Stallings' offense, and talk to me when he has 20 more pass balls, and we can talk about this trade being a bust. And he was brought in to be a stable, consistently solid defensive catcher. I mean, he was coming off the Gold Gloves. I mean, you'd like to see his framing numbers be a little stronger, defense a little better, but compared to the defense we had last year and the defense we had the year before, he's been a revelation.
He's been phenomenal.
Ability back there, and that's so anything he chips in with the bat is gravy. I'm not even looking at
is that
Alfaro's box score anymore. It's painful, but I'm happy with Stallings.
I was looking at the splits, and surprisingly enough, well, I know it's still very early into the season, but Trevor Rogers has worked better with Peyton Henry as catcher than with Jacob Stallings, which, doesn't come at much as a surprise. I mean, he's good with the other 4 pitchers, but hey, you throw in Nick Fortes to catch Rogers next time and see how that works. If it works, keep doing it. But yeah, I feel like Jacob Stallings really deserves, some more love and appreciation. The dude goes out there. I mean, the catcher is hands down the most commanding position in the entire league. At least in a baseball game, it is the most commanding position. Another guy we need to talk about is Jesus Sanchez. This is another guy that I tweeted out, and I mentioned that this is one of the guys that the Marlins should really look at, examine. Note that his May hasn't really been very good, if not terrible, right now. I feel like the move horrible. There you go. I think personally the move here for Miami is to send down Jesus Sanchez to retool himself in AAA Jacksonville, and you call up Gerard Encarnacion, who's been absolutely just mashing every single baseball he sees in AAA. Why not give him a chance? He's in the 40-man roster anyways. I mean, what do you think on that, Kevin?
Yeah, I mean, Sean wrote an article on this, so I think he'll definitely be able to talk about it.
Oh, there you go.
But I wrote a good comparison article between DLC and Jeezy. His May, right now he's batting 145 in the month of May. So he went from being probably one of the best hitters in baseball at the time with a 282 batting average, 3 homers. He had 2 triples, actually, 12 RBIs, only striking out 23 times, which is not good compared to 5 walks, to only walking 5 times and now striking out 25 times, 1 home run, 10 hits only. So he just has not been good, and I think it is time for a nice trip to AAA. You mentioned Gerard Encarnacion, who's down there. They just acquired Luke Williams, so he'll probably need some playing time down there. And he's not been a good minor leaguer, and I think that's something we should mention at some point about that trade. But yeah, Gerard in right field would look very nice, especially now with Avisail Garcia is now on the IL for undisclosed reasons. We really know why that is, which is COVID. But it's just a weird situation with Jeezy because the league adjusted to him, and that's something that our friend Alex Carver has mentioned, that he hasn't been able to adjust back to that, and that's the issue right now. Sean would know a lot more about it, the struggles. I know he wrote an article the other day. I read it, great article.
Yeah, I sent that out the other day. It's definitely time, and I know there's some debate if Gerard Encarnacion is the answer to the corresponding move you make. One issue the Marlins seem to have kept having the last few days of, can we make this move to demote Sanchez? As people keep getting hurt. We're waiting on Jazz to come back, and then you figure, okay, well then maybe Bertie can play out there. Now we're going to wait to see what's going on with BA. That could be another hold. But Kevin mentioned that his average was 282 at one point. That was his OBP going into yesterday's game. He's not getting on base at all, in any way. He just doesn't seem to have a plan at all at the plate right now. And it's, I still hope that he has a bright future in the organization. I'm not saying, I think someone thought I was saying just to cut him or trade him when I tweeted about this, and I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying he needs to spend a month, particularly if we're still thinking that we're trying to accomplish something this season other than player development. If the Marlins are still trying to contend and are going to try to spend June getting back into this thing, then Jesus Sanchez can't be taking those at bats until he shows you that he should be. And he's lost. I think he's lost any claim to that. Send him down, let him get his head right, and put anyone out there, whether that's Bertie in center, whether that's calling up Gerardo Encarnacion and moving outfielders around, but he can't be on the major league roster anymore until he figures this out.
And at the end of the day, what is the team really losing by calling up Jorge Encarnacion? I mean, he's already in the 40-man, as I mentioned, and both of them are relatively young. So what you're doing is giving both of these guys ABs, games to be playing in the major league level. We've seen that Jesus Sanchez clearly right now isn't doing good. So put him in AAA. We've seen what he could do in AAA. He could get himself hot again in a little streak. And when the time comes, someone is eventually going to go down in some form, maybe COVID, maybe injury. So there's going to be moves that are going to be made, and you're going to have to balance your roster out a bit. Maybe De La Cruz gets sent down when GZ gets hot again, or maybe you just send Encarnacion if he gets cold in the major leagues back to AAA. But you got to give guys a shot. Like, the Marlins need to make these moves, give guys a shot, give them ABs. Same thing we've been saying about Jazz and how he's been benched all these many times. But you got to give them ABs. They got to play. I feel like it's the right move to do right now. You call up Gerard, who's been mashing in AAA, and see what he does. Maybe he starts smashing in the major leagues as well and brings in those runs that the Marlins need in those crucial at-bats that we keep missing on.
Yeah, and the only last thing I'll say is, let's say BA does get injured, because if Anderson gets injured, they need another outfielder.
Right, he was scratched from the lineup today.
Exactly, he was scratched. I don't even expect him to play tomorrow, which tomorrow would be Sunday. We're filming this on May 28th. Right after.
Did anything else come out after the game? I
listened to Donnie. Just the back. Nothing changed from the start to the end. Jazz could play tomorrow. Sunday.
Tomorrow, he was eligible to come in to pinch it today.
Yeah, no, but he wasn't gonna hit today. Just the way what he was wearing in the dugout. I think it was in street clothes. But tomorrow, I do expect him to play. Colorado, he should be a full go, and that's at least from my thoughts and opinions. But yeah, no. Jeezy's just not been good. Now, let's say Anderson does get injured, goes on that 15-day IL, then Jeezy may have to stay in the major leagues. At least you could bring up Gerard. Jesus could stay rocking on the bench. And we mentioned the offensive struggles. Now we got to mention the defensive struggles as well for Jesus. That Atlanta series, that Sunday game where Sandy throws a complete game shutout. If he had caught that fly ball, things could have been a lot different. If he wouldn't have slid down, maybe just allowed a single to Kevin Kiermaier. You could have let that ball drop. I don't know if that would have been completely different. The game would have gone different. Pablo could have settled a lot quicker than having to go through that horrid first inning. So just a lot of struggles for Jesus, and now it's definitely transitioning more to the defensive side of the ball.
Yep.
Yeah, it was all fun and games when it wasn't impacting the glove, because that was the big question for him coming into the year, right? Would he be able to make this transition? Could he play a competent center field? And he was until this past week, and now that's not happening either. And I was looking at his Baseball Savant page the other day. I mean, there's only two things he's doing remotely well, and it's his jump, which we saw him get a little too eager jumping for the ball in that race series. And when he actually does connect, it's still 95th percentile for exit velocity, but he's not connecting, and he's just average and every other way. And now if you're seeing the defensive struggles, if he's starting to dip below average, then we just have to put someone else out there.
Yeah, and I'm looking at the Savant page right now, and there's at the bottom of it, there's a graph that shows it's past 100 ABs. It's just going down. It's rapidly going down, and yeah,
Plummeting.
as Sean mentioned, this Savant page looks very ugly right now. I would say the max exit is still at in the 95th percentile. Outfield to jump is in the 83rd percentile. You know, he likes to jump at Kevin Kiermaier's hits. The barrel's the only other decent thing. The barrel percentage, it's at 68%. The rest is bad. His whiff percentage is at 12%. His outs above average is 23rd percentile. So you just look at that; it's just not good. Jesus needs some time in AAA, and that's the end of it.
Yep.
When Garcia looks a lot better, it's time to send someone down to AAA.
And that's another reason to bring him up. Garcia's gone for a bit, so
I think they corresponded that move with. The Fortes move was corresponded for Payne Henry, so I don't know who it was.
No. It was Astudillo for Henry, and then since
so Bender goes down, then this guy comes up.
Right, Bender was IL as well. Yes,
and they kept Tommy Nance, so I guess they
kept Tommy Nance. See, we'll get to the roster construction right now, actually, because they made quite a lot of moves. So they brought up Williams Astudillo up to the major leagues, and I will play a video on top of the audio of this, and it's him stealing a base. I'll display it once the video is editing. But they sent Payne Henry down, who we could all, agree that he wasn't it. He just wasn't. Eric Gonzalez was also sent down. That's another one of the moves that they made, and I think they put Joe Dunan on the taxi squad.
He was on the taxi squad.
Nick Fortes is called up.
Yep.
Let's see. John Birdie is also back. Joey Wendell's back. So the Marlins kind of get big pieces of their roster who have been doing pretty good back on the active list. Richard Blyer.
So happy to have Wendell back.
Oh my God, yes. I loved it. And Birdie's been also killing it this year. So that's another big piece to have back. And Anthony Bender goes to the 15-day, I believe, IL for back stiffness. I think that was the thing on him.
Yep.
What do you guys think about these moves? Do you feel better about this roster, like from top to bottom? I'll go with Sean first.
Well, like I said, love to have Wendell back. I mean, when he went out, I mean, I was happy to call him the bat I trusted the most on the team. I mean, I still would say that's the case. He'll probably need a few games to get his swing back, but Jazz is the superstar on this team. But if we've got 2 outs in the 9th, we've got to get a runner over, I trust Joey Wendell to do it more than anyone on this roster. And
absolutely,
we need that kind of smart hitter back in the lineup. We really felt his absence while he was gone during the 2 stretches where he was out. Plenty of times where you wanted that smart professional at bat that you hear talked about all the time. He is that at bat for this roster. And Bertie, super utility guy, and he's been great this year. Otherworldly great, playing probably a little above where he's at, but you can plug him in anywhere out there, including center field. So it's really great to have him back in light of the struggles we've had at that position. So I feel much better with them back. And always love to see Tortuga play baseball, but having Wendell and Birdie back is the most important part to me.
What about you?
Blyer's back too. So I know he was off to a pretty bad start to the season. It was very, very iffy. He still hasn't pitched. So maybe we see him tomorrow or we see him in that Colorado series, because with Eliezer, you usually need 3 or 4 relievers in there throughout that game. So just in case. But so we may see Blyer Monday is what I think will happen. But with Eric Gonzalez, he actually, towards the end, he was a little bit impressive. He actually won the series MVP for Fish Stripes for one of the series. It's based on some weird nerdy stat. I don't
win
know,
probability
right?
Something.
Win probability added. There it is. That's what it's based on. So he won it, and Eli's the GOAT for that. But I mean, so Gonzalez was a COVID addition, so he was never on the 40-man. Just to clarify, so that means that 40-man, he was not a 40-man option. Wendell went down for the hamstring. So it's Blyer and Birdie for COVID, which meant Dunan and Eric Gonzalez come up. Those guys are now sent down back without having to be DFA'd. They were never on the 40-man since it's a COVID issue. Dunan stayed with the team on the taxi squad along with AA catcher Santiago Chavez, who's now with the team as a taxi squad member. So they have two guys on the taxi squad. When Wendell was on the IL, I think they brought up Tommy Nance for that one. Tommy Nance's contract was selected. They brought up Astudillo. So a lot of roster construction movement there. And then the most recent one, which was Luke Williams being added to the 40-man. So they still had that open 40-man roster because when you do an IL spot, you just replace the guy on the roster. So there's always a 40-man spot open, and that immediately goes over to Luke Williams, who's now in AAA. Hit a home run in his first game, funny enough. But, yeah, you mentioned it. Joey Wendell was probably the most reliable hitter on the Marlins before his injury. He was hitting like 304. And just today in Atlanta, reliable once again, bases loaded, no outs, gets the sac fly, breaks the 0-0 tie. That's how reliable Joey Forearms is. I mean, he was a perfect platoon option in Miggy Rowe, but now with BA looking to be out, he'll probably be playing third for a good amount of time. So Wendell's awesome. Birdie was one of the best hitters. He had a great series against the Diamondbacks in Miami during that weekday game. It was just an amazing series. He was getting on base, and that's I think what Miami missed, a guy who could just give you contact that doesn't require to be slugging the ball all the time, and that's the issue there. To create offense, you need guys to get on base.
Aggressive base runner, too.
Exactly. That's what Wendell and Birdie provide for you. Just a guy who could get on base and aren't known too much for their power. So I love the move there on that end. And, that's why you have Cooper, Aggie, Avi Garcia, and Jorge Soler. Those guys provide you power. So I'm very happy with the additions of Wendell and Birdie back. And let's see if these guys who were sent down could get it going. Joe Dunan had a pretty good start to his major league career. Eric Gonzalez was okay, provided you a lot of defensive help throughout the late innings. And this trade with Luke Williams is very interesting. We could get into that later, though.
Yeah, I agree. You both put it right on target. I feel much more comfortable with this roster, right? Compared to how it was maybe a week or two ago. Joey Wendell just highlights them all. The dude is consistent. He's so consistent. He's a veteran for a reason. The Marlins got him for a reason. He's an all-star for a reason as well. This guy not only is back because he's back, but his importance to this lineup is so critical because he adds that other lefty bat that the Marlins need to kind of balance out their lineup, especially now that Jeezy isn't doing good and Jazz has been out. So hopefully we get Jazz tomorrow. We get Wendell in the lineup as well. You got two solid lefty batters that are going to help you balance your roster, maybe from top to like the middle part of the order where they normally slot Wendell. But personally, and this is mentioning that we previously said to maybe call up Gerard since Gerard's a righty. So you're adding another righty to a lineup. So the importance of lefties, to me at least, is so crucial because it helps you establish your lineup. But given the bullpen, the rotation, this overall player pool that we have is pretty good. I'm much more pleased with this team. But the next guy that we need to talk about is, and we mentioned his name earlier in the stream, Sandy Alcantara, the ace. He is the ace. And me and Kevin have really debated this over many, many streams. I have said many times that I personally think that Pablo Lopez is the ace of this team. But honestly, after what I've seen the past 4 starts, am I starting to change my mind?
You should.
I mean, he's phenomenal. He's phenomenal. What do you guys think of him? Throw your takes. Show the love to this man.
Go for it, Sean.
The Sandy, that's he's got this solid track record of just jumping in and delivering that ace start when we needed. We saw it last weekend in that Rays series. We saw it again. Braves. I'm serious. Sorry, and we saw it again today. In today's series, comes in, gives you that big shutdown, saves the bullpen, gets the win, and Just he's unfazed on there, and and if Pablo has definitely had a great season, but just as far as that debate goes, I'd have thought it was much more of an argument if we had won that first game in the Rays series. Pablo would come in and toss the shutout there, or have one run even, locked it down. Then maybe that'd be one of those ace starts that starts to make it a debate. But it's no debate. Sandy's the leader of this staff still by a mile, and he showed again live today.
Yeah, I just want to read out yeah, there we go. That's a perfect tweet. I want to read out the final pitch Sandy threw out, which was the 108th pitch. It was a 99.9, so you could say 100-mile four-seam fastball, which struck out Adam Duvall for his 14th strikeout of the game, which ties his career high in strikeouts. And then there's the question, would you have let Sandy out for another one? I would have said yes, why not? I mean, I know the only issue with that is, so in the press conference, Donnie said that Sandy wanted to go out for another inning. Donnie said no because he would be on regular rest. So he's back on regular rest, unlike the extra day he earned. So I guess the rotation's coming back a little bit together, I guess you could say. But Sandy dominated the pitch velocity today. I mean, 300-mile-per-hour pitches, and you could even argue that 99.9, you just rounded that up to 100, the 99.8, round that up to 100. That guy was throwing heat today. 27 swing and misses for Sandy Alcantara. Just dominated it over 7 swing and misses for the other starter, the opposing starter, Tucker Davidson. So Sandy dominated tonight, dominated last week too. I mean, we're still forgetting. Sandy threw out a complete game on just last Sunday. So Sandy, you just had to wait a little bit. Donnie always said it that, I think it was the start against Seattle, that Sunday start where he just struggled. His command was off. He wasn't bad, but he struggled. I mean, that was the one where he gave up. He gave Julio Rodriguez his first career homer. So, Donnie said that wasn't the best Sandy we've seen, and we'll see the best Sandy. This is the best Sandy. This is the Sandy Donnie's been talking about. We could even see better as we go on through the season because this team will be in such better position, hopefully, with Sandy pitching on the mound. And not only that, Sandy's getting run support. Today he gets 4 runs. His Sunday start, the full game, 4 runs almost. And as mentioned, Sean, the 3 runs were unearned, which is funny. But Sandy's now the ERA leader for the Marlins. He has a 200 ERA. Pablo, I think, has like a 240 or 204, something like that. Very, very close. But Miami's 1-2 punch is looking really good, and Sandy's back to full strength, hopefully.
That is just one of the amazing, filthy pitches that Sandy just tossed to Adam Duvall, former Marlin, right on the top of the zone. Swing and miss for strikeout number 14.
He was 0 for 3 with 3 Ks, by the way. Duvall.
Yeah.
Albies as well.
I'm going to pull this tweet right back up from our friend Alex Carver. He pitched like a legit Jose Fernandez in this start. He was literally Jose on the mound. 14 Ks. That was typical Jose. Look how many times his name pops up on that screen. I mean, if we get more of Sandy from that, I mean, wow. He was phenomenal. He's really shown, at least to me, because I've been saying that Pablo was our ace. But this man right here is really making me want to change my mind. He's just incredible.
Your mind has changed, John. Your mind has already changed.
Yeah, that's just plenty of room. Jump aboard.
But wow, the fact that we got an amazing start from a guy like Sandy, and in a time where the Marlins really need to rack up all these wins, and as much as possible, he's proven that he's the ace. He really is. He's a star. We might see him in the All-Star game, and deservingly so. Maybe as a starter, which would be a first in Marlins history. No Marlins pitcher has ever started in an All-Star game. The last pitcher to appear in an All-Star game was Sandy, and we also had Jose.
No, the last one was Trevor, 2020.
Trevor, right? Yeah. Trevor, Sandy, Jose also appeared. I think John Trell had a time in the All-Star game a couple years back. Well, not a couple, load of years back, but it'll be refreshing to see Marlin starting the All-Star game. But that's a conversation for another time. But wow, it's amazing to see a guy like Sandy go out there and just shove. Literally, the definition of tonight was just shove. Do you guys think he should have pitched the 9th?
Why not?
I mean, I think I think we've been shock conditioned to think he should have started the ninth just with our bullpen situation, and there's been so much disappointment that we're all holding our breath there in the ninth, especially once Soler started letting people on base. If we had a real closer, I think we'd all be talking about maybe saving some of those bullets for later in the season. I know I took the under in the pitch count for him and the fish stripes picks. After that game last week, I'm like, there's no way they're letting him throw over 100 pitches. I'm like, oh, okay, well.
Yeah, I think what Donnie said, a little bit of what Donnie said is that he really didn't have a limit for Sandy. This, especially because of that extra rest, which I think helped him a lot. And I mean, he could have gone 120. That's what Donnie said, that he could have gone up to 120 if he put him out there in the ninth. He wouldn't have minded. But, knowing that Sandy would go on the regular rest after this, he wanted to protect Sandy, and he knew he won 115 last time. Just didn't want to do that again. So he put out Soler, and Soler impressed. I mean, it was a typical Marlins bullpen outing, but he struck out Acuna. That was a cool one. And he struck out Austin Riley. I think someone popped out for that. No, it was the Miggy play, that really good Miggy play.
Mm-hmm.
And, that's another play that we have to show love to. As much as I don't like Miggy starting every day, he will be now with BA out possibly. So, and he impressed. He really did impress tonight. Today was a very emotional day.
The homer?
He had the homer, the 2 singles, the incredible defensive play, which now you look at it, that was a crucial moment in the game because he got a little bit tricked up there. He would have had to face another batter. He got Ronald. He got Austin Riley. He would have had to face the next guy in that lineup. So very crucial first out there for Miggy Rowe. Today was an emotional day, as I was mentioning. I think today was his mom's birthday. So,
wow.
So she passed, I think, late January. I know it was during the lockout or the off season, but that's why he's wearing the number 11 for his grandfather and for his mom. So today was emotional. I don't know if you guys saw this in the broadcast, but I think he was like crying after he was teary-eyed. After he had a homer. Pablo hugged him, and then he was tearing up. John, that clip, I'll send you the clip.
I'll put it up. I'm gonna have the video cut right there so I could play it. I mean, that's just that's...
Yeah, and so whoever saw it, he was very emotional during the post game with Kelly outside on the field. So Miggy, if he could keep that up right now, he's a 220 batter, so he's batting as much as Jacob Stallings. So if Miggy gets it going, this seems very scary. I'll say that bottom of the order is going to look a lot scary with the combo of Stallings and Miggy. So
more replenished, right?
Yeah, because it'll be a lot more refreshing as well, because you go down to that bottom of the order and you just expect Stallings and Miggy to just be automatic outs at that point. Miggy's just not as fast as he was prior, doesn't have as much power. Although that homer was very powerful, 396 feet in the air, 101.4 exit velo, would have gone out in 29 ballparks. Obviously, wouldn't have been a home run in Camden Yards after the restructure they did over there. But that's Miggy Rowe for you. He does deserve a shout out, especially after today's game. Probably the best one of the season, to be honest with you.
Easily. And Kevin, we've spoken about this before. At least I brought up this point up to you. Regardless if Stallings is an automatic out or not, one of the wonders that he brings to that lineup is that he works the counts. Regardless if it's a ground out or a fly out, he works the counts. He could be out there for 6 to 10 pitches per at bat, and he could either walk, he might get that base hit, or he might get the out. But guess what? You're adding pitches to that pitcher. So it's nice to have a guy low in the order when you're gonna bring it back to the top, and you add your pitcher another 10 pitches so he gets out of the game a little sooner. But another guy we need to mention that's in the middle part of the order is these two right here. We mentioned the log jam that the Marlins are facing currently between Aguilar, Cooper, and Lewin. The question is, what is there to do? Right, thinking ahead of the box, or thinking at least deadline. Say the Marlins are either a couple games over, a couple games under, or way out of it. What do you do?
All right, so they're way out of it. You obviously trade Aggie, I would say. I think Cooper is just going to stay there a little longer. He's younger, more controllable than Aggie. Aggie has the mutual option after this season because of the arbitration. It's so hard right now, but if they're a couple games under or over it, I mean, it's so hard to trade a guy like that in Cooper, because those guys that's the reason they lost by 1 run just last night. Those guys hit homers, and they've been really good. And just one thing I wanted to mention on today's game, Marlins were a lot more patient at the plate. 6 walks, 2 by Birdie. Garrett Cooper walked, Jorge Soler walked, Aguilar walked twice. So just a lot more patience, especially from the power bats. That was very impressive there too. But yeah, going back to Aggie and Cooper, Cooper's been really good this season. He's been probably one of the best hitters as of late. Aggie, Noah calls him Jesus Singular, leads the team in single. Not the best joke, but I'll use it this time around. Yeah, those guys are just destroying the baseball as well. I mean, we saw it in Atlanta just last night. So trading those guys is going to be very hard. But Lewin's doing the same thing in AAA. I mean, he's probably putting up better numbers than a couple of those guys. And he's the best defensive first baseman they have in the whole organization. That guy has gold glove potential is what I would say he has. So if there's a reason to bring up Lewin, it would be just for that. And he provides the bat already. He's proven it at the major leagues. He was pretty good towards that end of the season. And you know what they did to him, a lot of people have their mixed opinions. I know Alex, you know about this, John. Lewin was called up, drove all the way from Jacksonville to Miami, was sent on the next day, had to drive back, missed 2 Jacksonville games. That was just unacceptable. You don't do that to a player. But man, Lewin needs to be up. Maybe you trade him. I don't know. At this point, it's like, what are you gonna do? Because it's such a big logjam. But Aguilar's on the expiring deal. If there's someone who's gonna go and they're gonna try to acquire a big name reliever or whatever, if they're still in it, Aguilar is the guy. And I'm writing an article on this, actually, the ideal trade candidates for the Miami Marlins, and he's one of them. He was at the top of my list. And, you know, when you think of a team, and this is actually going to correspond with an article that's already out on Fish Threads with Miami Marlin trade targets. Diego Castillo on the Marlins, why not? He was really good with Tampa in that first half of 2021. He had 14 saves. He was used as the primary guy. Really isn't doing that in Seattle with how much bullpen guys they have over there. But Aguilar in Seattle, Mitch Haniger's out. You could kind of flop him around their first base DH. He would be in the same role in Seattle. Why not? You know, that would be a good option. Then I think I have a couple other guys, but I'm not naming those until the article comes out.
I agree, and I definitely, and I think I've suggested it a couple of times in the past week that either Cooper or Aguilar, they're going to kind of be our best chip to move to pick up something else, and that's kind of and it's something they'll have to do either way. If we're talking about a move to make this MLB roster better as the season goes on, or if we're talking about we faded out of it and we just need to start shifting into player development. Unfortunately, Diaz is ready to come up, clear the logjam. Be a couple of weeks ago, I probably would have had a stronger opinion about which of these first basemen to move, but they're both playing so well right now. Aguilar especially has really come on for most of May on there, but Cooper's now doing it as well. It's making it difficult, which in terms of what's best for the 2022 team, which one you move. I agree with Kevin that if we're talking about just which contract and who has more control, that Cooper needs to be the one to stick around. But if we're just talking about what this year looks like, you might be able to make a better case for Aguilar. Honestly, I think he's a little more leader of the team-ish, if that's the technical term. For it. Aguilar is a little more in charge of running this team, but I think either one of them you could move to, hopefully pick up a reliever or part of another package to enhance his roster. And I think that's I'd be very surprised if both of them are still on the team after the trade deadline, certainly.
Especially if they're still in it, that's the thing, because Miami needs to trade players to get better. That's the point. Especially in the bullpen. That bullpen has been very impressive from the 8th inning back. That 9th inning is the issue. And if they get that lockdown closer or something relatively close to that, I think this team really will win the trade deadline. And especially, I think they need to get some kind of a contact hitter, kind of like a John Birdie type-esque player that just puts the ball in play a lot better. I have a couple options. Royce Lewis. That would be a very nice option for Miami. You get your long-term shortstop. And then if you really, really want to go in it and you want to win now, Alexander Bogaerts, he had to opt out after this season. So that's a perfect scenario for Miami there. And I wanted
to bring him up and write all about that when we were on that 7-game winning streak on there. But then, it's turned that it did the past few weeks. But I'll just ask you guys now, because screw it, we're doing a late night podcast,
Go for it, man.
if we are in contention in July, would you move? This is specific. Would you trade Khalil Watson for 3 months of Xander Bogaerts?
Oof.
Would you?
Wow.
Do that?
That's a good one, but that would be like Miami knows they're gonna get in it. You're gonna be.
That's it. Because what I'm thinking back to is 2008. And those, that Marlin team was, we spent about a month in first place that year.
Mhm.
There was a good roster, and they wanted that one piece, and we were rumored to be in it for a few days, and we were in it for a few days on getting Manny Ramirez, like the last great year of Manny Ramirez hitting over 300. Now that team had pitching issues, that's probably what they needed to do more at that trade deadline. But still, putting Manny in that order, that would have probably pushed that roster into like a serious playoff threat. But they wanted to hold on to Stanton, which we never made the playoffs. After with Stanton, but Stanton was Giancarlo Stanton. Acknowledge that. So
greatest Marlin of all time.
Yeah, I've kind of had that in my mind. Like if you were able to guarantee that, like a playoff berth in 2008, like would we have wanted Stanton to have gone? And I've just been thinking of that, and I think Watson's the prospect that I imagine like Boston would want in that deal. Other parts of the package too. But if Watson was the singular top 5 prospect going in whatever trade got Xander Bogaerts, or you mentioned Royce Lewis, there's some talk that Correa might opt out. Or if Minnesota thinks he's going to opt out at the end of the year, maybe they're flipping Correa at the deadline. Would you trade Khalil Watson for 2 to 3 months of some all-star shortstop we'd never possibly afford?
I think the best way to go by that is kind of look at it where the team is at the deadline. If they're 5 games under, maybe. If they're a little bit lower,
no, you don't do that move.
You don't do it. I don't.
No, honestly,
I think it's an over move. If we
I think it's an over
in June, and if we're 5
and not only,
something.
And not only that, but like you look at it, let's say they do make that move. You could convince Xander Bogaerts to stay in Miami. Essentially, I mean, you trade a piece or two away for cap. You trade Avi Garcia. You could try at least. I don't think anyone would want him, but you could make that attempt, and you keep Xander Bogaerts on that contract he currently is on. Same thing with Correa. You could convince these guys to stay in Miami. Not, let's say Correa does want to opt out in Minnesota, but he gets dealt to Miami. He would probably, and Miami makes the playoffs, they win a series or whatever. He would want to stay, and he sees what they're doing. He likes the pitching rotation, blah, blah, blah. He stays. And that's pretty much the same with Xander Bogaerts. And, funny enough, I'll give you the preview. One of the trade candidates I actually have is Jorge Soler. He's on that 3-year deal. He could opt out. Let's say he wants to opt out. You could trade him away. You at least get something, because essentially when Miami made that signing, it was essentially made to be a 1-year deal, knowing the guy was just going to crush the league. You're opting out, and that's it. So it's a very weird scenario when the guy has an opt-out, and you may be trading a guy like Khalil Watson for a guy like Correa or Bogaerts. It's a very and those guys have opt-outs, so they have full control if they stay on this team or not. So I mean, hey, if it's a win now move and you're just a game or two over 500, fighting for that wild card spot,
you do it.
You make that move. Or maybe if you're a game or two under that 500 mark, but you're still very much in it to the point where you could get a wild card berth with a couple more wins, you make that move. And not only just a shortstop, but you get to replace Miggy Rowe, and you get to have that's probably the biggest upgrade you can make around the whole team. And I love Miggy Rowe. He's the captain. He's been with this team through the ups and downs. But to get better, you have to have your best hitters and pitchers on that team. And I've always said that Carlos Correa and Xander Bogaerts would be your best hitter, or would be your best hitter essentially. You would sacrifice a little defense actually with Bogaerts, but besides that, that's a win now move. And especially, let's say you trade Aguilar for Diego Castillo or actually, funny enough, Eli told me about Tyler Kinley and his success he's having in Colorado, the hitter-friendly ballpark. So Tyler Kinley coming back to the Marlins wouldn't hurt either.
If they climb back in it, I just think you do anything to put Sandy Alcantara and Pablo Lopez in a playoff series.
Oh yeah,
that's light years away from what the 2008 situation was. That had some pitching issues. If we could put those two, and if we're talking about Trevor Rogers as the third best pitcher, for us, in that series, and that's just it's a deep rotation. If that's healthy, and that's what we're, you like our chances in any series if you can put them out there with any kind of competent offense.
Yep.
I like what you said about Xander and Correa, about making them want to stay in Miami, and we spoke about this last time you were on the pod, Kevin, how Miami can appeal to players. We spoke about state income tax. We spoke about proximity to their native countries. Xander is from the country of Aruba, which is in the Caribbean, and and from a fan standpoint, it's fun. You're connecting the Caribbean together. You get Jazz and Xander to play together. The countries where many players don't really come from. It's just something you kind of want to see. But again, this is if the Marlins are in it. Correa, this is a guy that I've had on my off-season target list, and I've said this, with the money that the Twins gave Correa and his contract details and whatnot. I know the Marlins are a bit more in the cheap side of things, but it was doable. At least on the Marlins standpoint, it was doable. You throw him his money, and the Marlins get their shortstop, and Miguel Rojas becomes the Marlins Udonis Haslem.
You would play a little more, I would assume, but
Yeah. We're gonna say Sean. I'm sorry that I cut you off.
No. I was disappointed when Correa signed for that amount. I never really considered him because I thought he was getting about $200 million more,
right?
Than he actually signed for it. And because I was thinking when I thought maybe we would, it's we'd have to sign him to 2 years, 75, 3 years, 100 may give him overpay for 3 years, 2 or 3 years just to get him down here, and then he signed for that to be a Twin. And so that was all. I remember when that contract was signed, I was thinking that sounds like the kind of contract you sign if you come out to a press conference and say, "Hey, don't worry about us. We're going to spend, and we've got money to blow." I'm like, okay.
Yeah. When Sherman came out bloating about the money, but Marlins got 2 big series coming up. We got that 1 game left in Atlanta, and we got 2 other big series that are going to be crucial. And that's, by the time that series is over, that'll be the next off-day pod on the All Marlins YouTube channel, which I'll have a nice guest joining me for that one. So for the last game of the series with the Atlanta Braves, Eliezer Hernandez against Max Fried. And then following that, we have the Rockies. We are heading to Coors Field, and the last time we were in Coors Field, I guess the simple word to say was that it was a movie.
Yikes.
It was a movie, not only in Marlins' performance, but the altercation, if you guys remember.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Oh, man.
The Lewis Brinson issue.
So we'll be having, I believe, okay, so Eliezer is on that. So we'll be probably having
It'll be Pablo, I think.
Pablo?
Yeah, I think he started when? Tuesday? You're starting him again on a Tuesday, 7 days of rest.
Oh, yeah. You're right.
So it'll be Pablo versus whoever is up for Colorado.
Yeah.
On it says to be announced, but it should be Pablo for the Marlins. That series is the important one.
Yes.
That is the series. I said at the end of the Fish Stripes Live on Friday that this series against Atlanta needs to be a win series. They need to win it. If not, I'm pretty much done with this team. But Eli then later goes on and tells us privately that he thinks it's if they lose Atlanta and Colorado is when it's over. Miami's going to Coors Field. You have the big bad in Jorge Soler. Craig Mish always mentioned Colorado as an option for Jorge Soler. Now it's his time to show why that was an option. That's the Jorge Soler series for me. Jazz is expected to be back by then. Hopefully Brian Anderson is there if he is not going to the IL, or he should be back for that San Francisco series, which is another important one. But Miami needs to show that they could beat a team like Colorado, who is actually pretty good this season. There, that NL West is very scary. They're all over 500, I'm pretty sure at the moment, or Colorado's a game or 2 under it. I'm not sure, but that NL West is probably the most competitive in the MLB right now, and that team's very good. I mean, they have Chris Bryant we could start off with, Connor Joe, who's been one of the more impressive guys. Charlie Blackmon is now a DH according to Fangraphs Resources. Roster Resource. Jose Iglesias is there. CJ Crone. They have a very interesting team. Ryan McMahon. That was a team many thought was just going to rebuild, but after that Chris Bryant signing, it was like, whoa. So I guess this team's really going for it. They lost John Gray, if you guys didn't know. They lost John Gray, their big-time pitcher, so their pitching is a little bit depleted. They have Senzatella, and I think they gave another big butcher a big contract, or I think it was Senzatella.
They got Gombers, Zenzatella, Freeland, Estevez, and
I was
Herman Marquez.
looking at the schedule. It looks like it's to be determined for that whole series.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
I expect
with us,
Pablo.
I kind of get it, but the Rockies don't have anyone announced for all three of those games.
Yeah.
So,
I think it'll be Pablo, then Poteet, and then we go, I guess, Sandy again.
Sandy?
Final game, it'll be Sandy on regular rest. So that's how the series will line up. And then I guess Eliezer goes June 2nd, which I'll be there, unfortunately, for Eliezer starts. But yeah, I have no idea who's going to go for Colorado. Herman Marquez may go for that final game or that first game of the series. Or unless he went today, I'm not sure. But yeah, Colorado is a very good team. They're in Coors Field. They're at their home. That is a very nice ballpark to hit at. Many know that. So yeah, that's a win now series, and I'll let you guys do your predictions because mine are safe for Fish Stripes Live.
I'm very excited to see Jazz hit. I think even more than Soler. I like Soler.
yeah.
I think he can hit it out of any park. I mean, it would be fun to watch him in atmosphere up there at Coors. But Jazz, especially, a lot of his home runs are impressive off the bat, but end up being a little shorter. Like I want to see how Jazz carries in that park. I'd love to see. I hope we get to see 3 at bats from him and 3 games, not 3 at bats. With him, hitting there, that should be great. Bryant, I think we might duck Bryant. I think Bryant might be out on there.
He's currently not on the roster here. So
yeah, he's I think he's on. I think he's had back issues all season, so he should. We won't have to face him. Did you see their new uniforms on there?
The Rockies' new uniforms. Yes,
uniform.
they're nice.
I heard they're based off of the state of Colorado license plate, so that's something cool to go by. I don't think any of the other teams have done it.
But yeah, it does look a lot. It also looks like the license plate, and I think that's the official one. But yeah, they're definitely another, I think, top 3 City Connect jersey. So it'll be the battle of
who has the better one.
right. We can settle that with this 3-game series. So for this series, I think you got to go Marlins, and that's just us putting our season on the line. So I'll say the Marlins take 2 out of 3, and I'm not, unless you're playing the Nationals, I don't think this team can sweep anybody right now. But that'd be great. That'd be season saving if they go.
Yeah.
That I'd feel much better about this team going into that Giants series where you figure we're going to be lucky to split because it's the Giants, but I'll say 2 out of 3 in Colorado. I'm most excited to see Jazz play. It's a little concerning that sounds like we're only counting on one. We said Pablo is pitching in this series, right?
Yes.
It should be Pablo.
No, if it is Pablo and Sandy at either end of that, then that's great. Then
Looking good for us. Yep.
You like our chances. I do feel like Sandy's had some trouble against the NL West out west in his career, so that's
Especially this guy.
yeah, that worries me a little bit. I'm not gonna lie, because it's been enough of a thing that it feels like it's a thing.
Right.
That it's not a fluke, but yeah, the Rockies are under 500 right now. Obviously, so are we. We've got to get it done.
Same amount of losses, if I'm not mistaken, too. Marlins go to the house that Todd Helton built, or Larry Walker rather.
Helton.
That's gonna be a good one. As you said, Kevin, this is Jorge Soler's series. It really is, because if I'm not mistaken, in the finalists of who was going to sign Jorge Soler, it was between the Marlins and the Rockies.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe the Braves are kind of to the side, but this is a series. This is really a series. We paid him money. Gotta go out there and mash those bombs, man. Take Coors Field to your advantage. The elevation is yours. The sky's the limit. Jorge Soler. Uh, I'm predicting he does go yard though. I think he will. He definitely will. Maybe not 513-foot territory like Giancarlo Stanton, if you remember that. He's hit it to straight dead left center, the
I
deepest
think I
part of
was
the
at
yard.
that game.
Really?
I think I was. Yeah, definitely. He hit it really far one game I was at. I took in 2016. I drove up there. I saw Ichiro get hit 2,999.
Oh, that's great.
Oh,
And
nice.
I bought the tickets way in advance. Like I had looked at the schedule. I'm like, it's going to be this series. And unfortunately, I had promised
One game off.
I promised my wife that we'd go to the national park the next day. So I was still in Denver on the Sunday, but I made a commitment on there. So I did not see hit 3,000 in person, but hit 2,099, 999. I saw that.
That's so
That's
cool.
awesome. That's really cool. Ichiro's such a lovable guy. No doubt Hall of Famer. No doubt. But I think the Marlins. I got to go with you guys. 2 of 3. You got to take 2 of 3. If you're the Marlins, you got to take 2 of 3. Well, we don't know Kevin's yet. We don't know Kevin's.
Yeah,
yet.
you'll find it out tomorrow on Fish Stripes Live, Sunday edition.
We'll find out.
I would say I agree with Eli. I mean, as far as this Braves series, I don't think that's the nail in the coffin if we lose tomorrow. If Max Fried beats LA's or Hernandez, then that's just more like the universe working with Atlanta.
And that's the thing. Max Fried actually has struggled a lot against the Marlins when you look at it.
Yeah.
Hitters are hitting 315 off of Max Fried. The only team hitting better off of Max Fried are the Arizona Diamondbacks, who are hitting 340. So that shows a lot. Max Fried struggles mightily against the Marlins. So that's why this Sunday game gives me a little bit of hope. Miami, for some reason, plays very well on Sundays, I think, is what the trend is, if I'm correct. So we'll see. Miami could beat Atlanta out here and take 2 series against Atlanta this season. So they would win that first one they played in Atlanta, and they would win another one in Atlanta. Miami has luck in Atlanta. I think that's what we could say.
Something I want to bring up, because we also want to mention the other series before my next off-series pod. The Marlins are going to play a 4-game series against the San Francisco Giants. Sounds concerning at first. However, the Giants, despite playing well, they're very, very depleted. A lot of their guys are down on the IL for many, many reasons. Jock Peterson is the one guy that stands out now, obviously, with the very weird situation there with Tommy Pham.
Isn't it nice to know some of these guys care about fantasy as much as we do? Like,
right.
I'm happy about that. That's great. Let's see more of that.
We're in Miami playing a Giants team who is close to hitting the 500 mark. They're over 500, but they've really lost their pace, obviously, with the amount of guys that they've lost within the past few days. I feel like the main guy the Marlins really got to watch out for, pitching wise, is what's his face? Oh, Rodon. Rodon is the guy that, like, if he's starting that series, Miami's losing. It's a 4-game series, so the fan in me wants 3 of 4. It really depends how their roster looks at the moment. They do have a lot of guys down right now. So if you're looking at the Giants roster and you're looking at the Marlins right now, given what happens from here to there, which is quite a couple of days from now, but that's a series that the Marlins really got to look at themselves and say, okay, given that we predicted a series win over Colorado,
they're like 4 games under at that point, I think.
Yeah, 3 to 4, I would say.
I think it's 4, because if let's say they won tomorrow in Atlanta, there would be 4 games under. They would win 2 more, and they lose the Colorado one in Colorado. It'll be 4.
Okay. So they're coming into this 4-game stretch with the Giants, 4 games under. You're looking at yourself in the mirror. You want 2 of 2. You want to split that series against the Giants. What do you guys think?
I think you would stay 4 under 500 at that point, but
I agree. I think a split is just what you want to get there. I mean, so look, we've got a 3-game series against the Rockies, and then after this Giants series, we have a Nationals series. Again. So,
must wins come back.
but so that you could afford to split with the Giants. The Giants, they're a great team. They are a little depleted right now, but they're better at this baseball team than the Marlins. It's no shame in losing 2 games to the San Francisco Giants. There's plenty of shame. There's season-ending shame in losing 2 to either the Rockies or the Nationals.
Absolutely.
So, we need to win both their series. We need to sweep one of them on there. I don't think it's going to be the Rockies on the road, but yeah. So I'd be thrilled with a split against the Giants.
So I'll say this: that June, Miami plays Philly, Washington, New York twice. They play New York twice. So that's a big month. That month of June is extremely important. You're playing big time division rivals. You should be able to beat Philadelphia. Although they're, I think, in second place right now. They haven't been too hot lately. New York, it's New York. I don't expect them to win any series against New York. Maybe a lucky one there. But then that month of July is probably even more important. You're playing Cincinnati and Pittsburgh a good amount. That's probably the team you'll see the most. So if Miami could take those games, almost all of them, Miami should have a winning record in July, and you should be at least a game or 2 under 500. And you're going into that August 1st, I think, trade deadline, or August 2nd, with a nice record with 2 games under, a little bit over 500. And that's when we can start thinking about Bogarts, Correa, Diego Castillo, Tyler Kinley, all those type of guys.
I think 17 and 10 at least in June. I was looking at the schedule the other day as well.
It's doable.
I got it pulled up now. Like you got to be at least 17 and 10 of all those games together. And if I could on the Mets, the Mets have been good all year, but so we were playing the Mets for the first 7 times this season in the month of June, but we're going to play the Mets 7 times without Jacob deGrom or Max Scherzer on there. And so if we could, and I think we play them maybe one more time before the All-Star break, and it'll probably, maybe one of them's back by then, but probably not. Honestly, it's very easy to believe that if these games against the Mets are without those 2 on the team, like you do want to see them, and if we have Pablo and Sandy going, and they have, and they don't have their top 2 arms, and I think this is obviously way down the line, but they've got to capitalize on at least one of those series, if not both.
I'll tell you what, given the Mets, what we saw in the month of April, that one game that they completely came back on the Phillies being down 7-1, you got to also account Phillies bullpen is, we like to kind of talk down a bit on our bullpen, but the Phillies bullpen is a little bit worse than ours. But I feel like, the Mets are going to be the toughest one. Maybe the Astros. I realize the Astros, we also play them.
They do play the Astros.
The Astros are going to be a pain as well, but hey.
I might go out there for one of the games. I'm Texas-based. Yeah. I keep my out of Miami status more under wraps than Peter does, but yeah, I'm very much no longer in Florida. But yeah, it's a 10-hour drive from where I'm at, but I might try to go to one of the Astros games.
Awesome. Hey, if we get some Sean shots over there in Houston with a potential Jesus Aguilar bomb over there, over the what is it that they call it?
The train line.
Train station. Yeah.
Well, hopefully I'll catch a Joao Encarnacion bomb.
There you go.
Kind of that.
I like that. I've said he has a potential, like the ideal David Ortiz kind of pop. Dude could send the ball, and he could send it traveling for a long time. But yeah, you guys are right. The month of June is, I mean, we're looking at May. It is important. And we have lost a lot of games as a result of the 1-run loss. The Marlins need to stop that trend. If they could stop that trend,
it's kind of hard, dude. It's kind of hard.
Hard to do. But if they could stop that trend and kind of work themselves around the month of June, and then reevaluate themselves entering July, which, by the way, I will be at that first game in Washington, D.C.
Nice.
That will be my first time at Nats Park. We might be seeing at a completely different Marlins team by the end of June, or it might be the same old typical Marlins. So it's very hit or miss, given that very, I guess, balanced month, because you got a combination of very good teams and a combination of more lackluster kind of teams, kind of down there. So there's a lot of wins and losses you could add up to your count there. I know the Marlins aren't too good in Busch Stadium, very unlucky rather. It's the Cardinals are just out of this world like with us. They're devil magic as they call it. Um, I believe this is the first time the Marlins play at Minute Maid Park outside of the NLDS since 2014, if I'm not mistaken. So it's been a long time since they've been at Minute Maid Park. So
We thought
it'll be
Jared
fun.
Borzard was good the last time they played at Minute Maid Park.
Yeah. So that's going to be one of the most entertaining months for the Marlins, and hopefully they're still in it. And we'll see. We'll see what happens. Got to wrap up May strong, get these last wins against the Braves and the Rockies, and then you're entering June optimistic that this team could kind of bring themselves right back to that 500 mark. And hey, we're back. Don't count the Marlins out yet. But to wrap things up, kind of key notes on the minor leagues. Uh, we know about Max Meyer being down, hopefully coming back. I think Jordan Holloway is making some progress into a return.
He threw like 90 pitches the other day. I don't know if it's on a mound or on dry, I guess dry dirt on the flat mound. But he threw 90 pitches. I know that.
And
Or
then
20, like that.
Braxton Garrett was another one that did something similar to that, if I'm not mistaken.
Garrett, I think, out of rehab. Is going to is pitching tomorrow.
And
Garrett's pitching tomorrow.
And what do you guys think about Edward Cabrera? Because there's a lot of him and how he racks up those strikeouts, but something about his control. He's been kind of allowing quite a considerable amount of runs, and we're talking about calling the guy up. So what do you think about
When is his next start? Did he pitch tonight, or is it tomorrow?
Edward Cabrera?
I think it was tonight.
I think it was tonight. Let me check for you.
I know he was pitching this weekend.
Eddie. One second. Let's see. Edward Cabrera. No, he did not pitch today. It was Kent. Let's see. On the 27th, perhaps. Let's see. Nope, Castano pitched on the 27th, so he might be pitching today. Tomorrow, Sunday. So.
Okay.
Oh no, it's TBD. So we'll see what happens with Eddie there. But is he still close? Do you think he's close to coming right back up? I think he is.
He's ready.
So.
I go to that he's ready.
He's ready. Luzardo hasn't thrown yet too, so it gives more time for Eddie to come up and give us some starts. I think outside of that, you spoke about Nick Williams giving Luke Williams. Hit his first home run as part of the Marlins organization. Gerard, we mentioned, he's been crushing it.
I think you have to mention the main guy, Yuri Perez. That guy's just been lights out. I mean,
yes.
he was humbled in his first couple of starts, but just his last one, I think it was like 12 Ks or something like that. I mean, the guy's been killing you. You have to really look at that Double-A Pensacola team. That's the one you have to look at. Paul McIntosh has just been lights out for this team. He's put himself probably as the best catcher in the org. And I know there's Joe Mack, but we haven't seen too much of Joe Mack, so I don't really want to make a big estimate on that guy. Paul McIntosh is probably the closest out of the young bunch to the big leagues. We may see him in AAA now with Nick Fortes down. Still Lorenzo Quintana. Lorenzo Quintana is still down there, so maybe next year we see Paul McIntosh make the jump, unless now when the September call-ups occur, he moves up to AAA and gets some action there. But who else we can mention in that?
Griffin Conine still mashing the ball.
Griffin Conine hit a homer today. He had one dead center, I think it was. It was reported by the ROM, but yeah, overall good start there for Griff. Who else has been struck? Troy Johnston
warming up.
He's warming up, but has been struggling big time. And now we go to Single A Beloit, high A. That team's been really bad, but look at the bright spots. Dax Fulton had a pretty good game the other day. Victor Mesa Jr., the good one, the good Victor Mesa, he's been good. Who else? Cody Morsett's getting it going. Tanner Allen really risen up through the rankings a little bit when it comes to prospect rankings from a couple of us. Has been impressive. And then obviously the big name Khalil Watson. He's been he kind of went back down to earth after a very impressive start with the 5 homers, hit one the other day. So the
It's been a while since I've seen a homer video. Or at least,
yeah. Yeah, and
is
then
there anyone down? You guys follow the minors more closely than I do. Is there any one that looks good as a reliever? That's like the last couple of weeks.
I got you.
The relief option?
So when you look at relievers, you have to go look at double A. That's the team. That reliever core has really gotten exposed these past couple of days, but Jeffrey Yan has been really good. Josh Simpson, who had a 0.00 ERA through 20 innings pitched or something like that as a reliever, really just come back down to earth. Colton Hawk, 26 years old, he should be up already, at least in AAA, ready for the majors, but that hasn't occurred. So yeah, that's where I'm really looking at in AA. But AAA, I guess if really Brian Hohen, he's a starter, but could really help out in the back end of the bullpen. That's really where I'm looking at. I guess if you really want to get that conversation started, Eddie or Max at the bullpen reliever, but I know many say no to that one. I'm saying no to that one already because at the start of the season, San Francisco, Max Meyer should have been on that plane as a reliever, but
yes,
that didn't occur. That didn't occur.
Agreed.
But yeah, I mean, if you're looking relievers, AA is the spot to look at, I would say.
Okay, thank you.
But yeah, we pretty much went over a lot of topics in a podcast that pretty much came out of the blue. So I would just like to say thank you to Kevin Barral and Sean for joining us in this pod. By the way, this is not the end of Sean. We have another show coming up with Sean next month on the 16th, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that's what we're looking at.
That's going to be a fun one with Sean. Sean, thank you for hopping in. I know it was late. I know the pod has extended over to an hour, but man, it was a fun one. We went over a lot of Marlins talk, and yeah, for those of you watching, thank you, and we'll see you in the next one.
All right.